One of the things I find most striking is the presence of Antarctica on ancient maps, because we didn't discover it until 1820, and yet it's on maps drawn in the...
Joe Rogan reveals the terrifying truth about Antarctica. Antarctica is one of the strangest places on Earth, and there's a lot we don't know about it.
A century after a legendary British explorer made his name in Antarctica, a modern-day admirer.
Some peculiar facts about this place have the potential to rewrite human history as we know it. Like, why did Antarctica show up on maps in the 1500s when it was discovered in the 1800s? And how terrifying is it really to go and explore here? Join us as we explore the mysteries of this tundra that have been revealed by Joe Rogan and his guests, some of which are absolutely terrifying.
I have the snow on my shoes. Yeah, I got back about a month ago, 54-day journey, first person in history to cross the entire continent solo, unsupported, so no resupplies throughout the thing, no aid.
It appeared on ancient maps. One of Joe Rogan's guests was Graham Hancock, who talked at length about Antarctica.
A time when Antarctica was lush and green. The question is, was it lush and green during the lifetime of the human species?
Yes, this is where it gets tricky.
And this is where it gets tricky.
Graham is a British writer and free thinker who doesn't shy away from proposing controversial theories revolving around ancient long-lost civilizations. On the show, Graham pointed towards the existence of ancient maps that apparently depicted Antarctica. To him, this was an extremely interesting revelation. Antarctica wasn't discovered until the 1820s, but these maps, which seem to have originated in the 1500s, depicted a landmass below at the bottom of the world, clearly indicating the existence of Antarctica.
Last remaining territory on the planet that could have such a designation is Antarctica.
Graham says that these maps were based on even older source maps that have been long lost to time, implying that humanity may have known about the existence of this icy tundra long before what was previously believed. Graham compares these old maps to the latest map of the 1810s, also known as the Pinkerton World Map. This map was based off of the latest discoveries and explorations at the time. However, when you pan over to the location of Antarctica, it's empty. There's nothing depicted there.
And it's a remarkable story, and that occurs roughly 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. And those Polynesians were amazing ocean navigators.
But if you look at the Waldsee Muller or Orientius Phineas World Map, you'll find it clearly depicts Antarctica at the exact location where it should be. Back then, this region was known as Terra Australis, which means southern land in Latin, and its depiction was much larger than its size today. But how could this be possible? How could a map from the 1500s depict a landmass that wasn't found until the 1800s? According to Joe Rogan's guest, he firmly believes that this map must have been based on earlier maps made by ancient lost civilizations. A civilization that mapped the world, but their knowledge was forgotten. And thanks to these maps, we're seeing glimpses of their superior technology and expertise. So, was there really a civilization out there that was lost in the annals of history, with only tiny glimpses of its remnants? The answer to this lies in John G. Weishaupt's book, known as Of Maps and Men, The Mysterious Discovery of Antarctica. John praised the Orientius Phineas World Map for its impeccable details, remarkable accuracy, and almost complete depiction of the world. However, when it came to depicting Antarctica, the map's accuracy fell apart, according to the reviewer. In their opinion, the Antarctica on this map bore little to no resemblance to the Antarctica of the real world. To them, it looked like the drawing of Antarctica was more along the lines of cumulative guesswork by the people of that era. They presumed that there must be a large landmass in this region, because there's one in the northern hemisphere. Furthermore, this landmass named Terra Australis was annotated by the original map maker. The annotation read as, recently discovered, but not yet fully known. It was printed right under the label of Terra Australis. The original map maker, Phineas, admitted that this part of the map was a creative liberty that he took, indicating that it was indeed fictional. Also, the immensely large size of Terra Australis made no sense. Terra Australis was 2.5 times larger than Antarctica in the real world, dwarfing other continents in the process. And lastly, Terra Australis was depicted to be naked, with no ice sheet covering it. An ice-free Antarctica with no ice cap. The map doesn't show the great shelves of ice surrounding the continent or the great glaciers either. The last time Antarctica was ice-free was over 34 million years ago. long before humans evolved. However, there are still some compelling arguments supporting the legitimacy of the map. Charles Hapgood in 1979 cited the statistical probability of 50 geographical points in the Phineas map being accurate to modern-day maps. This shows how uncannily accurate this map is. The dangers of Antarctica. Another guest on the Joe Rogan podcast, Anthony Stumpf, came on and described his experience in Antarctica.
For penguins or all of the wildlife that is available, you can't go to the interior of Antarctica, which is where we were. We were at a...
The two talked about how truly dangerous and terrifying the place is, and how it was for Andy to live here. The camp Andy resided in was a complete field of ice, no insects, no wildlife, and no sunset. But it was made comfortable during his stay with a plethora of food and amenities.
If this is where you work, you're an absolute saint as far as I'm concerned. But that's where we are now. The journey continues, hopefully if everything goes.
Despite these comforts, the threat of this place cannot be ignored. One major threat to life in this icy region is the presence of crevice fields. Anthony Stumpf was briefed on the dangers of Antarctica, and those dangers included crevices. He boiled down the briefing in one sentence, and it was that if you were caught falling into one, you're dead. The likelihood of someone finding you is extremely low. Unfortunately for Andy, his camp was surrounded by crevices. Cracks in the ice can be as deep as tens of meters and as long as several kilometers. The ice in Antarctica moves slowly, but it never stops moving. Thanks to this movement, crevices appear all over the place. But if they're so large, how do people ever fall into them?
You're talking about changing sea level, you're talking about impacting a tremendous population around the world.
Sure, they can be spotted from far away and avoided easily. But the unfortunate reality is that crevices rarely show themselves in all their might to their victims. They're often obscured by layers of snow, hiding the pits of death under innocuous-looking ice crystals. The snow that blocks the entrance to the jaws of death is referred to as snow bridges. Thanks to the winds of Antarctica, snow accumulates and forms a bridge across the gaps of these crevices, hiding them from people until they unfortunately step on a bridge. Some snow bridges are thick enough to support people, but if a vehicle were to be driven over one, it would result in the occupant's untimely demise. Andy says that it's important to prioritize self-rescue if you ever find yourself falling into a crevice. And thanks to modern advancements in communications technology, it's very much possible to equip yourself with GPS trackers and communications devices before venturing out into the unknown. But even so, rescue is not always a guarantee. So many things can go wrong if you're caught falling into a crevice. Any sort of injury such as the fracturing of bones could complicate rescue attempts. One man crossed all of it alone. We already know that Antarctica is one of the most uninhabitable locations on our planet. Simply venturing there is a death sentence, much less living there. But one man decided to push through the extreme circumstances and cross the entire landmass of Antarctica solo.
And a man from Portland, Oregon has etched his name in the list of famous firsts. He did it on the day after Christmas at the very bottom of the
letter to the world for people to dream big and be inspired.
And he had some interesting things to share about his death-defying experience. The man who crossed the Antarctic completely solo, Colin O'Brady, appeared as a guest on an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.
I have the snow on my shoes. Yeah, I got back about a month ago, 54-day journey. First person in history to cross the entire continent solo, unsupported, so no resupplies throughout the thing, no aid.
And he shared his journey of walking across Antarctica with both Joe and his audience. It took Colin 54 days to trek across this icy landmass, and he did this all by himself, unsupported with no supplies throughout the entire journey. This makes him the first person in the world to cross the entire continent with these strict restrictions. We've already established that venturing out in Antarctica, even in the company of others, is extremely dangerous.
This project is for anyone who has been told their dreams are impossible.
But this man did it all alone. The winds of Antarctica are not to be underestimated. They can range from 50 to 60 miles per hour. If your tent blows away in these conditions, it could be the end of your life, which almost happened to Colin. He reports that his tent was almost blown away in the harsh winds, and if it did, it would have exposed him to the chilling temperatures of negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that into perspective, if you were to take a cup of boiling water and throw it in the air, it would instantly turn into ice. With extreme temperatures like these, you also cannot afford to precipitate. It is very important to avoid sweating at all costs in Antarctica. Sweating will cause your clothes to be filled with moisture, and if you don't keep moving to keep that moisture warm, it'll subsequently freeze. Colin says that physical activity, even something as basic as pulling a sled, would require a delicate balance. You want your heart rate high enough to keep your body warm, but not too high to make it sweat. Are there any more terrifying facts about Antarctica that you guys think we missed? Let us know and be sure to subscribe for more next time.